Welcome to another episode of the Social Impact Journal, the podcast where I talk to the changemakers driving social impact across the world. My name is Jack Farron and I'm your host. And today I'm with Alice Marks. She is working with the Royal Academy of Engineering in the Frontiers programme. And you may have seen a lot of episodes that I've recorded on this podcast. And many of those individuals I've met through two symposiums organised by the Frontiers. And Alice, I think you're the person that is coordinating all of this, so it's great to have you now on the podcast to learn more about the Academy, the Frontiers programme, and how really you're helping to build a lot of these networks between academics, entrepreneurs and businesses, who are really driving change across the world.
Oh, thanks very much, Jack. I'm really pleased to be here.
No, it's great to have you here. So we're recording from the 1000 Voices studio here in London. So maybe just tell me a bit more about what the Royal Academy of Engineering is.
The Royal Academy of Engineering is the UK's National Academy for Engineering. We have an overall objective to harness the power of engineering to create a sustainable society and an inclusive economy that works for everyone. So I've been with the Royal Academy of Engineering for almost 8 years, since 2016, so a long time, and I work in our international programmes. Frontiers is one of our international programmes. So we're the UK's National Academy, but we have a really global outlook and global outreach as well. We've got fantastic networks and partnerships all around the world that help us achieve that main objective.
Awesome. So I know the Academy and the Frontiers programme through two experiences I had, first in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia in 2022 and then in Bangalore in India in 2023, where we went to two different conferences, and it was a really fantastic, I think 3 or 4 day, quite immersive experience with 60 or 70 different delegates, talking, sharing ideas about a specific topic, but also having the opportunity to pitch for some seed funding and collaborate on new ideas. So what gets you really excited about Frontiers and its unique model?
Gosh, so Frontiers, I've been running the Frontiers since really the very beginning of the programme in 2016. But maybe to explain why Frontiers is such an important model, I have to rewind a couple of years since then. So the very first kind of experience that the Academy had with Frontiers is that the US has a version of Frontiers that they run called the Frontiers Symposia, run by the National Academy of Engineering. They're our counterparts in the US. And 3 of my colleagues, Hayat Salem, who's now our CEO, and Shane McHugh, and a really lovely colleague, Kwang Dang, who sadly passed away subsequently, but I love to name check him because he's really the inspiration for the whole programme, attended some symposia and helped collaborate on some symposia with the National Academy of Engineering. Their symposia are quite different from what you see today in Frontiers, but what my colleagues realised when they attended these events was that you can have kind of anything on the agenda, really. It almost doesn't matter what the agenda is for an event. It almost doesn't matter who the experts in the room are. What really matters is really intentionally creating a space where people, especially early and mid-career people, are allowed to raise their voices, allowed to have opinions, allowed to and invited to speak up and bring their different expertise to the room. And we see really innovative conversations happening as a result of that. So my colleagues went to that event, got super inspired by it, and then were looking for opportunities to do something similar. Enter some funding from the government in 2015 that allowed us to do more work on global challenges. Enter me in 2016 with a small background in international development. And we took that model and made it something really special of our own. So we're very intentional in the way that we design our events. We handpick every single person who comes. So the fact that you've come twice is a testament to your own ability to jump in and get involved, Jack. But what's really special about them is creating a space where people can really engage with one another. We invite people from all different disciplines, all different sectors, and everywhere, lots of different places all around the world. And so with all of those different experiences and backgrounds, it's really important that the space that people are engaging is really collaborative, really diverse and inclusive by design. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned, so you came in 2016 to the Royal Academy and you had some international development experience. So what were you doing before the Academy?
So I had two jobs that are kind of relevant, and a couple in between. But the first job that I'd done internationally that exposed me to anything that was to do with international development was actually a bit strange. I was a research assistant on an environmental biology conservation project, working with wild macaques, who are monkeys, little furry monkeys, wow. In Morocco. And it was the best job in the world. I got to follow these wild monkeys around all day, recording their behaviour, watching their little interactions between each other like a little monkey soap opera every day, and getting to know them. But something really tragic happened, which is that I was away for a couple of weeks, and a couple of the babies in the group that we studied got poached by poachers. And it was really heartbreaking and awful to see that happen. But what it really made me realise is that the way that humans interact with nature can't improve until the social situations and the resources and access that people have around that improves. Because those monkeys, each of those baby monkeys could be sold in a market for 300, 400 euros, which is like a whole year's worth of salary for some people. So until you solve those social problems, you really can't save the world. You can't protect the environment. You can't protect those monkeys. You can't make change happen. So there's an awful lot in the system. Yeah. So that was kind of my first exposure to those international development challenges, I guess. And then I had a really wonderful job working at Imperial College for an organisation called Agriculture for Impact, who talk about agriculture and farming in sub-Saharan Africa. I got to travel to amazing places, meet incredible farmers, smallholder farmers all over Africa, and that really kind of inspired me that this was a world I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Two very different experiences, but yeah. I guess it definitely shaped your thinking going forward. So
for sure.
So what attracted you to the academy? Was it that you had this opportunity with Frontiers to tap into lots of different projects and?
Yeah, I think so. What I find really exciting about the programme is that every time we run one of our symposia, we have a different theme. We're working in a different country with different stakeholders, different partners. And as somebody who, I don't know, gets bored quite easily, it's really fun to kind of dip into different topics and themes quite often. And we also get to work with the best people. You know, you've been to 2 of our events, so you know the people who attend our events, the people we work with are just so inspiring, and every day is completely interesting and exciting as a result. So, yeah it's a really wonderful place to be.
I think I can agree with you in what you said about, I mean, I've been to so many conferences where you've got you've got the agenda for the 3 days, right? And there's panel session, there's fireside chats and things, but you go, you watch, there's very little chance for interaction, and you end up on your phone or you're doing your emails on a laptop. And it's a long day in a conference when you're hearing 6 hours of talking. But the Frontiers Symposium was, one of the first events where it's very loose, the agenda in a way. You have an agenda, but everyone has to participate. You don't really have a choice. But that's a great thing. And if there was 600 people, I think there's too many people to know, but the number I think that you select per symposium is at a level where I think everyone can get involved. So how did you get to that number, by the way?
It just kind of worked. I think we looked at a few different examples. We looked at the National Academy of Engineering example that I mentioned in the intro, and it feels about right. Like 50 people or fewer would be not enough expertise in the room, and 100 people or more would be too many. So 60 to 70 felt about right the first time we did it, and we played around with a little bit more and a little bit less, and this is kind of the comfortable point in between. And I think what you're saying is exactly right. Everything about the programme feels relaxed, I think, to the participants, but is really carefully designed. We've thought about every component of it, and so it's the thematic sessions where you're discussing the different topics that we have at the event that there are to discuss, and those are led partly by experts and partly curated sessions so that they're really interactive. But we also have context setting keynote speeches that kind of give you the wider context in which the event is sitting. We also have both informal and formal networking opportunities. And we like to talk about it. It's actually something that one of our participants described it as. We like to talk about it in terms of building professional friendships. So you don't just want to know about somebody's expertise. You want to know what they're like as a person, because that means that next time you find a challenge that person can help you with, you're comfortable to pick up the phone and talk to them and get them back involved. So it's about building those connections that are really sustainable and really long-term as well as new.
Yeah. So talk me through some of these symposiums since you joined in 2016, like in terms of where they've been in the world and what topics they've focused on.
Yeah, there have been 20 different symposia.
Wow.
Yeah, so lots of different ones. And we've been everywhere. I mean, so one thing that's maybe worth noting at this point is that we always really carefully pick the place where we're going to match with the theme that we're exploring. The most recent event that we held was in Jordan, which, by the way, is a gorgeous country. I highly recommend visiting. It's a really beautiful place to be. And while we were in Jordan, we decided to talk about water, energy, food and environment nexus. So the kind of space where those different themes overlap. Because water and environment is a huge topic in the MENA region, in the Middle East and North Africa region. And, you know, so it was the perfect place to be discussing this topic. It's such a relevant and raw and current topic for people in Jordan. So that was a really an amazing event back in February. We decided the event that you attended in Addis in Ethiopia was about engineering inclusive economies, which is a great topic to be talking about in Ethiopia because at the time, well, and still currently, you know, things are really changing in their mobile markets and their access to kind of different financial models and systems.
Definitely.
So it was the perfect place to be having that conversation at that time. We went to Madagascar, in 2019, just before the pandemic, and it was a magical experience. I mean, I mentioned that I was working on conservation projects. I'm a biology nerd. So to be somewhere like Madagascar with this incredible ecosystem was just amazing. And we were there to talk about agriculture and food systems, which again was a perfect topic for that place because it's one of the most, one of the countries in the world with the poorest nutrition of anywhere else. So it was really the perfect place to be having that conversation. So yeah, we always try and match the place and the theme in that way.
So Madagascar was one of your bucket list countries.
It was.
Because of your interest, yeah. Where else in the world, on a personal level, would you want to go to, you know, for nature and...
Oh gosh, I would love to go. We held one event in Brazil a few years ago. I would love to go back to the Amazon rainforest. I mean, what a stunning place. The Galapagos Islands I've always wanted to go to. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would love to hold an event there, but I'm not sure if it's appropriate to bring that many people to such a delicate ecosystem.
No, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
So then talk me through kind of how this symposium, I've seen it firsthand, but how does it work? So who really are you looking for to attend these symposiums?
So like I mentioned before, we handpick everybody who attends. We handpick people from academia, from industry, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, all of that kind of industry is welcome. We handpick people also from practitioners, so NGOs and policymakers as well. So we really intentionally pick a diverse group of different sectors. We're looking for people at the early and mid-career stage, although we have a very loose definition of that. So non-traditional career paths are very welcome to apply and encouraged. And we really pick a completely global group. So one thing that's worth always noting is that we pay all of the costs for people to attend our symposia. So they should be truly accessible for everybody. And we can even cover, for example, care costs. If people have got care costs that need to be replaced while they're away, we can do all of that as well. So they're truly we hope an accessible event as well as a really good experience. So great opportunity for professional development.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I know seed funding is available for at the event, and what I think is really cool is that it has to be, maybe you can have some external collaborators, but it has to be new ideas that are formed at that symposium. So you can't just walk in with your business partner, with already an existing model. So what it forced, I think, every collaborator to do, or every participant in the two symposiums is, you need to understand everyone in the room, what they're doing, and really start pitching your ideas. And I remember there's, you actually have pitch sessions, which are really cool. So, why did you go with that model to include that element of, seed funding at the event?
Yeah, I think it's a really, really big lesson learned for us about how to curate that environment that I talked about as being such an important part of what we do. Is that there's a few components that go into making a new collaboration work. One of them is trust, which there's no shortcut to. You just need to be with somebody and take the time. But another really important part of that is focus. And by providing the seed funding, we provide a focus. So as you're going into conversation, sure, you're getting to know a person on a personal level, you're getting to know their expertise, but you have this in the back of your mind that you have an outcome in mind. You want to work together, you want to have a next step. And by having that next step, we see the impact of the conversations at the symposium realised into a tangible project, a tangible outcome. And I think a lot of us have had experiences of going to conferences or meetings, meeting incredibly inspiring people, incredibly interesting people, but with no next step to take that collaboration, you quite easily forget about it, or maybe have them in the back of your mind but might not pick up the phone and call them. By creating this tangible next step, it really focuses your mind on kind of what you want to see happen as a result.
Yeah. And I remember the deadlines for so these projects applications, they're quite tight after the event. Is that so people keep talking and there's no room to go home and go back to your kind of day-to-day work and forget about things?
Totally. So it's all about momentum. Yeah. It's about creating momentum from the conversation. It like you said, it would be so easy just to go back home and forget that brilliant idea that you had. But we give them, it is tight, it's 10 days to 2 weeks to turn around an application. And the application form is a relatively light touch, we hope. So it's doable and feasible. We get lots of good applications and good quality ones as well. But it is tight specifically for that idea that, you know, it's all about creating momentum from the event itself.
Awesome. So what are the things that Frontiers offer in terms of opportunities or funding?
Sure. A couple of other of the core components. So the real core of the programme is the symposia and the seed funding, which we've already talked about. But we have other components as well that really do add up to something that's more than some of its parts. So two core things are, we have a follow-on funding programme. So once you've been through our seed funding programme, you can apply for these bigger grants that turn your seed-funded application into a fully formed research programme. Research or innovation programme, I should say. We also have something called our Frontiers Champions. So these are small-ish grants, they're worth about 10k, that allow people to take forward networking ideas that they've had as a result of the event. So usually kind of building on the Frontiers network, but putting the agency for developing those networks in the hands of our participants. So they're really context appropriate, they're really locally adapted, and we fund all over the world with that programme as well, so that's great. We also have a couple of other things we do. So we have a newsletter, so we can keep all of you lot in touch with each other through the newsletter and expose you to groups that you might not have met at the event that you were at. We hold webinars a few times a year as well, and we try and also offer bespoke opportunities. So let's say that something came up that was particularly interesting to you, Jack. We'd make sure that you and other people like you got that opportunity through our network as well. Another really important component of the programme I should mention is partnership. So we work with two main different kinds of partners. The first is local partners. So increasingly we work with a partner in each country that we go to who helps us really develop the programme, gives us a depth and a wealth of knowledge about what the local context looks like. So I mentioned that we pick the country based on the theme. We also pick our partner to make sure that we're really getting that theme right in the local context as well. So that's very thoughtfully done too, and they are fantastic to work with. They're always brilliant. The other kind of partner that we work with a lot is, and that we're increasingly looking to work with a lot, is external funders. So people can come to us with an idea about something that they want to see, a symposium that they'd like to see, and then we can make that a reality. You know, like you've mentioned, the programme is completely flexible. We could touch on any theme anywhere really. So by working with external funders, we can also work with them to curate a network and fund around a topic of anybody's choice really. So partnership is increasingly a big part of what we do as well.
So the Frontiers Champion, you said 10,000. That's 10,000 British pounds. And is that available to someone that's been to one particular symposium or to all alumni of Frontiers events? It's
open every year. We run it around, and it's open to everybody who's been to one of our events ever. So there are 1,200 of you plus. That
was going to be the next question. There's 1,200 people part of the community. But how many countries would you know?
Many. I don't have that number to hand, but I know it's more than 30.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine
it's a good reach. But
awesome.
To know the exact number, I'd have to speak to my team, and I don't have that number with me.
No, it's okay. So I'd love to know more, a little bit more in depth about some of the projects that you've supported through the Frontiers programme. Either through the seed funding, the champions, or the follow-on funding. If you have any, interesting examples to share.
Gosh, so it's hard because there are 250 of them, and every single one of them is wonderful. We've not had a dud. So if you're listening to this and are one of our awardees and I haven't picked you to talk about, it's not because you're not brilliant. They're all so brilliant and inspiring, and make my life a joy every day to see what everyone's up to. But I have picked a couple of examples that we've looked at recently. So one of them is a project by Hussam Hajali. He's based at the Royal Scientific Society in Jordan, who were our partner actually for the Jordanian event. So it's fresh in my mind. And he was one of our he was one of our Champions awardees. So as I mentioned before, water scarcity is a huge problem in Jordan. Jordan has almost no natural freshwater resources at all. They completely rely on all of their neighbouring countries who, have political instability and their own problems going on. So it's a really, really challenging situation in Jordan. Hussam attended our Seeds to Needs symposium that was looking at kind of ecosystem services and how you can protect ecosystems as well using different technologies. And through that event, he met people who he could partner and collaborate with on a project around his particular interests, which are around different technologies for agriculture, smart technologies for agriculture. So he wanted to really focus on food resilience because agriculture is one of the most water hungry, maybe you should say thirsty, industries, especially in a country like Jordan. Water is incredibly important for agriculture. So he worked with colleagues in UK, in Sweden, also within Jordan. So he reached out to Jordanian agricultural businesses, engineering businesses, also startups, environmental groups, social science groups, etc., etc., etc. So many, many different stakeholders to do several different things. They put on a conference, the very first conference that was specific to his academic interests that had happened in Jordan. They also created an online platform of different smart agricultural technologies that would serve as a really important resource for people who are interested in agriculture, agricultural technologies in Jordan. And what's really exciting about that is that in just the 6 months of the programme while he was active, that platform received more than 20,000 views. So more than 20,000 people visiting that agricultural technology platform. So it really demonstrates what a need there was for that kind of thing, so that people could access information about different agricultural technologies they could use. So a really essential local resource. And in addition, he also has started, as a result of the project, has started a new research unit at his institution, specifically looking at different smart technologies for agriculture. So just a really nice example of how kind of somebody with a particular interest can create a lot of local change through network building, through collaboration, in quite a short amount of time and with only 10,000 British pounds. So. But
it's a bit of like a kickstart to get the ball rolling, and then
exactly.
You can start seeing that. I guess was all of that part of that project, or a lot of those were things that happened as a result?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was part of the project, and then things that he bolted on as a result of that. Yeah. Like you said, getting it kickstarted and then seeing things really develop. So I think the platform was the core component of the project, and then the other bits kind of came alongside with it as well. So yeah, really great example of how you can create this kind of movement locally.
And that was fairly recent that this project took place.
Yeah, I think it finished in February, so it's quite a recent one. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so if I could ask you one question, and you're calling out now to the next, 100 potential Frontiers delegates, what would be your message for them, and who is the perfect individual to become part of the Frontiers community?
I don't think there's any perfect individual, because the different people that we get are just so diverse. But I think a few core things that we always hope to see, and sometimes you meet people and you're like, that's a Frontiers person, and other times they need a bit more convincing. So the Frontiers people are people who naturally collaborate. They're people who naturally reach out to one another and see collaboration as a superpower. It's not an easy thing to do, right? Working with people who have very different assumptions from you, be they disciplinary assumptions or cultural assumptions, it doesn't really matter, requires quite a lot of hard work to get those partnerships happening, to get those conversations on the same page. And some people are just naturally better at it than others, although everyone can do it. So we look for the natural collaborators. We also look for people with particular experience and expertise that's different. we love to include people who are based in local organisations that have particular interests as well. So if that sounds like you, that's great. We have a lot of academics. They're, kind of the bread and butter of the programme. They're always keen to get involved. I think it's easier for them than some other groups that we access. So everyone's welcome. It's not just for engineers. It's really important to say it's not just for engineers. We welcome social scientists, natural scientists, people who don't think of themselves as scientists at all. Just anybody who has who's keen to collaborate, has an idea and wants to work in partnership with other people to make that idea a reality. And importantly, of course, tackling global challenges.
So Alice, I know you've got an upcoming event in April in Colombia, New Frontiers Symposium. So I'd love to hear more details about that.
Yeah, for sure. So the event is going to take place in Medellin between the 22nd and the 24th of April. We are working in partnership with another part of the Academy called the Engineering X Safer Complex Systems Programme. They're partnering with us for this event alongside the Universidad de Antioquia, who are our in-country partner and have been fantastic collaborators so far. So we're really excited to be working with them on this. The theme for the event is systems approaches to a just energy transition and equitable access. So we're really looking kind of across the energy system. We will be talking about issues like governance and justice. We'll be talking about, of course, talking about the different technologies involved, but also talking about ideas like circular approaches and the end of life of technology. So there's an awful lot of different touch points for different interests to get involved with this. And everything that we'll be discussing will always be within the context of making sure that innovation is safe, reliable, sustainable and inclusive.
Awesome. So this is open to anyone in the world, academics, entrepreneurs, businesses, those in practitioner.
Okay. All of those groups, yeah. We're open to everybody globally. We, for obvious reasons, have a particular focus on Central, South America, Latin America in general. So if you're in those groups or know anybody in those groups, please do get in touch or find out more on our website. You can apply via our website to attend the event. And like I mentioned, every cost is covered for you to attend the event, so it's completely accessible to everybody. Our website address is www.range.org.uk/frontiers. And then you can just click on upcoming symposia for more information.
Awesome. And you can also see the link to this application in the show notes of the episode. So alongside the symposium, there'll also be seed funding available for new collaborations. So how much is the seed funding per successful team?
Per successful team, it will be £20,000 over a year. And we are expecting to see lots of really inspiring new projects that take systems approaches to tackling this big global challenge of energy access and justice.
Great. And how many delegates are you expecting at the event?
Between 60 to 70 usually. So, and like I said, they'll be drawn from all over the world in all different disciplines and sectors. It's a really fantastic opportunity if these topics are of interest to you for professional and personal development as well.
Excellent. Yeah. And when is the deadline to apply for our audience if they're interested?
Sure. Our applications are always rolling. There's never a hard deadline. Once all of our positions are filled, they're filled. But we expect the applications to probably close around mid-April, early mid-April, with the event kind of happening at the end of the month. Okay,
awesome. Apply if you're interested. It sounds like a great event in Medellin, Colombia. So if anyone's listening and you're in that space, then do definitely get in touch with the Royal Academy team and apply. Is there any other events happening within the Academy in the next few months that our audience might be interested in?
Definitely. We always have lots going on. So I really encourage people to keep an eye on our website or LinkedIn for what's upcoming. A couple of things I'd touch on. So in May, we are excited to be launching our Global Engineering Capability Review, which is a review that we do periodically looking at different engineering skills. We have a special index that we use to assess engineering skills and where there are gaps all around the world so that we can target our interventions to be the most impactful that they can be. So that's going to be launching in May. I'd also mention it's a really exciting year for the Academy. We have lots of 10-year anniversaries. So our Leaders in Innovation Fellowships are turning 10 this year, but we also have our Africa Prize for Engineering Innovation that's turning 10 this year. We've already had some celebrations, but there's going to be a big party in Nairobi in June, on June the 13th. So if you are keen to find out more about the very diverse and inspiring and brilliant entrepreneurship that's happening across the continent of Africa, all of this amazing homegrown talent that will be be celebrated in Nairobi alongside some of my wonderful colleagues in June, then do check out our website and sign up. I think you can just register for a place to attend that event there. So I really encourage you. It's going to be a really fun party.
It's just in person, or there's a virtual?
I think it's going to be both.
Okay.
So
well, I think we have a lot of audience from Kenya. So if you're listening from Nairobi, get involved for the party in June.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, Alice, it's been really interesting to learn more about the Frontiers and the Academy. You've got 1,200 individuals that are part of this network. Mm-hmm. The Frontiers has helped financially support 250 collaborative projects. Mm-hmm. So I have a question, and this is a question that I vary, but it's a question I have for every guest at the end of the episode. So if you had your own social impact journal and you were to write just one page in that book, mm-hmm. and this would be for a young innovator that is coming at the start of their career, and they're really interested in global development challenges and addressing some of the UN SDGs. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give them as they start their career?
Great question, Jack. So I think you've probably heard this proverb. That is, if you want to go fast, you go alone, and if you want to go far, you go together. I would amend that for our early career innovator and say, if you want to go fast and far, you need to go in collaboration with other people, because it's not very satisfying to say you can either go fast or far when you look at the world's problems and they're so big and they are so urgent. Right, so we need to do both. And the magic of working in collaboration with other people is that you get the benefit of so many different brains on the same problem. It's not always easy to work in collaboration, but by combining your brilliance with other people's brilliance, you're going to do so much more together and have so much more of an impact that is sustainable, that is context appropriate, and that's most likely to have a lasting change as a result. Yeah. So that's my big piece of advice. I would also say, as a second piece of advice, attend a Frontiers event. But that's just a plug for my programme. More broadly, speak to engineers. We are natural problem solvers. We love to work in collaboration. And so if you're not an engineer and have a big problem to solve, speak to an engineer.
Awesome. I think that's the perfect way to end the episode. Alice, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Jack. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode with Alice. If you enjoyed the episode, please make sure to share with your colleagues and friends, and do again check out the Frontiers programme from the Royal Academy of Engineering. See you next week at 9 a.m. GMT every Monday for the next episode of the Social Impact Journal. Thanks.